Hi, my name is DelmarshaeWalker. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a great day today. I want to start off by reading a Bible verse, and it's going to be 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14 through 18, and this out of the NLT. Don't team up with those who are unbelievers. How can righteousness be a partner with wickedness? How can light live with darkness? What harmony can there be between Christ and the devil? How can a believer be a partner with the unbeliever? And what union can there be between God's temple and the idols? For we are the temple of the living God. As God said, I will live in them and walk amongst them. I will be their God, and they will be my people. Therefore, come out from amongst unbelievers and separate yourself from them, says the Lord. Don't touch their filthy things, and I will welcome you, and I will be your father, and you will be my sons and daughters, says the Lord Almighty. When I was younger and I would hear that Bible verse, they will always refer to marriage, like a person, a male or a woman, shouldn't get married to someone who's not a believer. I have been doing a lot of Bible study and devotionals lately. This verse isn't just pertaining to marriage, it's also pertaining to other types of relationships. You can have a friend that is not a believer, and because y'all are friends, it can kind of lead you, that person can lead you away from God, leave you in wrong directions, or have you on the fence or doing questionable things to make a person look at you and say, are you really a believer? Are you really a follower of God? Because of some of the things you do, some of the music you may listen to. So it's like we're to separate ourselves from people who do not believe in God. And a lot of times we don't do that. And what I mean by that is like it's impossible not to talk to people who are unbeliever. It's impossible to not associate with, be around, and do different things like that. It's almost impossible to even kind of have a friendship with the person that's an unbeliever. But what it is that it's like this. It has to be at least a mental separation that, yes, I can talk to this person, I can be around this person, I can associate this person for whatever reason, but I'm not going to get caught up in doing the things that I know is wrong. At some point when they're saying, hey, let's go this way, hey, let's do this, I have to be strong in my faith to say, you know what? I'm sorry, I can't do that. Or I'm sorry, no, I can't go there. Even if that upsets them, because at the same time, they should have some understanding in who you are and the things that the direction that you're choosing to go to in life. Because if the person is your friend, there should be a mutual respect if you're calling that person your friend. If it's an associate, then do it really matter if they're upset with you? Do it really matter if they're mad with you because you're holding firm to your faith? So, like I said, in the past, every time I heard that that verse, they would just refer it to marriage. But it's more than just marriage. It's any type of relationship that you could think of, being in business with somebody, being traveling with people that are unbelievers and different things like that. Because just say, for instance, you're not a person that goes to clubs, so now you're traveling with someone that is an unbeliever and they're convincing you to go into this club. Now you say, okay, I'm gonna go. Now they're convincing you to have this drink and you don't drink. Now they're convincing you to do this. So at what point are you going to separate yourself? Like I said, you can't physically separate yourself from everybody that's an unbeliever. But at what point as an individual, you're going to stand firm on who you are and say, you know what, that's just going a little too far. I'm sorry, I can't go. I can't do that. I can't go in that direction. And I also wanted to read a second verse to you. And this is out of, this is John chapter 17. And I'm going to read verse 13 through 20. Yeah, 13 through 20. John chapter 17, verse 13 through 20. And this is also out of the NLT. And this is actually Jesus speaking. Now I am coming to you. I told them many things while I was with them in the world, so they would be filled with my joy. I have given them your word, and the world hate them because they do not belong to the world, just as I do not belong to the world. I'm not asking you to take them out of the world, but to keep them safe from the evil one. They do not belong to the world any more than I do. Make them holy by your truth. Teach them your word, which is truth. Just as you sent me into the world, I am sending them into the world. And I give myself as a holy sacrifice for them so they can be made holy by your truth. I am praying not only for those disciples, but also for all who will ever believe in me through these messages. So basically, like I said, we cannot fully 100% separate ourselves from the world. But while we're in the world, even Jesus was asking that we stay safe, that we are protected, that, we don't fall into prey with all this evilness and wickedness in the world. Because if you look, a lot of stuff that you look at in the world, it seems so harmless. But then when you dive deep into it, then you realize, hey, this is really going against what the Bible says. This is really going against God. Oh, these people don't believe in God. So if they don't believe in God, what is it that they believe in? So it's like you have to be careful, but you also, like they say, have to be covered in the blood of Jesus. It's not about being perfect. Everyone is going to make mistakes. Everyone is going to do things wrong. It's a learning experience, but you have to be grounded in your faith. That had, it's cute to post God above everything, God first, but are you living that? And I also want to you probably heard this story before, but I want to just kind of repeat it. Sometimes I feel like, certain things might, sometimes I feel like I'm just repeating myself. But just in case you may not have heard this story, I'm going to go ahead and repeat it. I had, in the past, I told you that my family never went to church as a family. We did not grow up in church. We did not attend church on Sundays. I grew up in a very dysfunctional home. Even though I grew up with a mother and a father, the home was very dysfunctional. There was really no leadership. There was really no guidance in the home. There was no unity in the home. It was none of that. It was almost like every man, woman, and child for themselves. And the first time I ever went to church, as far as my memory, is when I was 5 years old. And a church bus, a church came by, and they used to have these church buses that would like take the kids to Sunday school. So I was like 5, and that's the first time I, went to church and was in a Sunday school and everything like that. I liked it. I don't really remember everything that happened in the Sunday school and all that, but it's just something about that started my relationship with God, started my love for God. And as a child, trying to understand, I remember, like they would say that Jesus is God's son and everything like that. So as a child, I'm thinking about, okay, if Jesus is God's son and we're all his children, Jesus must be my brother. And so when I would be in my room playing, I would be talking to Jesus, like how kids have imaginary friends. Well, my imaginary friend, or, who I would talk to would be Jesus, and I'd be playing with my toys, my dolls or whatever, and just having a conversation with him. And that's how like my love and my relationship started before God. Like I said, I really can't say what it was, what I heard, what it was, or whatever it may have been, but it was just something about that experience that touched me to the point that made me fall in love with God and wanted to follow him, even though I didn't know what that meant. When I was 9 years old, I was molested. That like devastated me. A part of me died. And other things happened to me before that kind of led up to me being molested, but I'm not gonna, get into that because I don't want to drag this video out. But when I was 9 years old, I was molested. When I was 10 years old, I decided I was just gonna end my life. I was gonna take my life. The first thought I had was, how am I gonna do it? So I came up with exactly how I was gonna do to kill myself, because it's like, I thought about, drowning myself or trying to jump off the highest place I could think of, which was my parents' house, and kill myself that way and different things like that. So I did come up with an idea of how I wanted to end my life, because I wanted to be with God so bad. And I understand in the Ten Commandments, it says, thou shalt not kill. And so even though I understood that if you killed someone and you repented and you truly in your heart repented and asked God to forgive you, he would wipe it off your slate like it never happened. But I didn't understand if that also meant if I killed myself, because how can I repent if I'm dead? So I was kind of like confused at that point. And I didn't want to take a chance of killing myself and not ended up in heaven. So that kind of took that off the board, where I wasn't going to kill myself. So then I started praying that God just let me die in my sleep. I'm like, God, I'm just unhappy. I don't want to be here anymore. So please, just when I close my eyes, let me wake up in heaven with you. That didn't happen. So at this point, I was just hurt as a child, just depressed. I didn't know I was depressed at the time, but I was a depressed child. I was just so unhappy because my home life really didn't change. My home life really didn't improve. So I'm still growing up in this environment that's not loving, that's not caring, that doesn't show any affection or anything like that. We never came together as a family. We never ate family dinner together. We never really did anything as a family. It's like even when Christmas time, we open our gifts, then everyone just go their separate ways. It was never like, feeling like, even though I have 3 older brothers, in my heart, I truly feel like I'm an only child, because I never had a loving relationship with them, a brother-sister relationship with them. So I always grew up feeling like an only child. So it gets to the point, I'm growing up, I'm a teenager and everything like that. And so at this point, it's like, I'm just mad at God. And I'm telling him, like, I'm just mad at you. And I know you said you would never leave me or forsake me. You're not going anywhere, and I'm not going anywhere. So you just stuck with me in my attitude. And that's the relationship I have with God. Even back then, it's like I said, I didn't grow up in church, and I didn't go to church. So I didn't have that church Christian type of relationship where there was rules to being in a relationship with God. These are the things you shouldn't do. These are the things you shouldn't say. There was no rules. So my relationship with God was just pure, raw, just my relationship, my love for God. And so however I felt, with respect, I told him, because this other thing I felt is, you know anyway. You know everything about me, so why should I try to mince my words or do this or do that when you know exactly how I feel? You know what I'm thinking before I even think it. So it's just, however I felt, it just came out of my mouth that way. But my love for him, and I never like ran from him. It was like, you're stuck with me. I'm not going, you're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. So we're just stuck with each other. And so I was just, more or less a child of God, a kingdom's child with the attitude. And so before I ever met my ex, I was already, and I'm not advocating drugs. So I was already smoking. First, I started off smoking cigarettes. Then I switched from smoking cigarettes to smoking weed. And so I was smoking weed and I was drinking. I was all doing this under the age. I was also going to different clubs and things like that, lying about my age, getting in clubs. And so that's just how I lived my life. When I met my ex, he kind of like introduced me to the street life. So I was already kind of, out there, but I wasn't, just really in that lifestyle until I actually met him. And it's one of them things that I'm not really going to discuss. It's like, if you know, but I was just out there, just living my best life. And so in my mind, I looked, acted, and felt like I was part of the world. I was smoking like everyone else was around me, smoking weed, drinking alcohol, going to clubs, doing all the stuff that I wasn't supposed to be doing. The whole time I'm still in a relationship with God. And the whole time, like I said, my relationship was raw. If I was high and I wanted to talk to God, I talked to God when I was high. If I was drunk and I wanted to talk to God, I talked to God when I was drunk. There was no right or wrong time to talk to him. I never stopped that conversation, even though I know I wasn't doing what he would approve of. Like I said, I'm young, I'm hurt, I don't know what to do. So I'm just trying to ease my pain, my depression, or whatever, just by doing what I want to do. But at the same time, I never left him. He never left me, I never left him. I still kept that relationship. That's why I keep saying it's not about having a perfect relationship with God. It's about having a relationship with God. God did not expect me to be perfect. And he don't expect you to be perfect either. So a lot of people be sitting on the sidelines saying, oh, I'm going to wait till I get my life right in order to have a relationship with God. When God is standing there saying, no, you can have a relationship with me right now. I'm not going to judge you. Even, like they say, only God can judge. He knows you. He knows what you're going through. Like I said, he know me. He knew what I went through. And I know it's a lot of situations I was out there in that I could have really been in a lot of trouble. My one wrong step to the left could have turned my life totally different, wrong, or whatever. So even though, like I said, I was doing everything I shouldn't be doing as a child of God, I was still doing it. He was still there with me. He was still there protecting me. And so when I did, get in a relationship with my ex and everything, and when he first introduced me to his mother looked me up and down. And the first thing she said to him, where did you find her at, church? And I'm looking at her to where you get a church girl from? And I'm like, I was offended by that because I'm like, I'm not a church girl. In my mind, I look nothing like a church girl. I've never been to church. I didn't grow up going to church. So it's like, I was offended that you're telling me, here I am thinking I'm, thugging it. And you're looking at me and all you can see is church girl. And then his auntie was there. It was like, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It's like, I was thinking, I didn't know he started going to church to meet her. Like, where did he meet her at? Was he passing by a church to meet her? And I'm sitting there like, I'm high at this time. That would make it so bad because I done smoked with him. So I'm high. Like, I am not a church girl. But because I am a child of God, because I still love God, my light, even though when I looked at myself, I seen I'm thugging it. You know what I'm saying? I'm out there just doing my thing. I'm listening to rap music. I'm smoking weed. I'm drinking alcohol. I'm doing everything I'm not supposed to do. But when they look at me, they see God in me. You see what I'm saying? They I don't see what they see. But when they look at me, there's like, no, you're not supposed to be here. Even though I'm there. I'm living that life. They're still looking at me like you're not supposed to be. This is my first time ever laying eyes on this woman. And the first thing she said to me is, say to him rather, where did you find her at? In church? What you doing with a church girl? And so you have to live that life. It's almost like in the Bible with the story of Job. Even though Job, when Satan, when God and Satan was having that conversation, and God asked Satan where he was coming from, he said, to and fro, looking for those who I can devour. When God asked him, when God asked Satan about Job, Satan said, yeah, but he has a hedge of protection around him. So even though he's looking at all these people, even though Job don't see that hedge of protection, Satan do. Satan knows that Job belongs to God. So I'm not saying I'm Job or anything like that, but even though I was out there in the streets, I'm out there running wild, every demon out there seen me and knew I belongs to God. Because like I said, I'm telling him I'm not, we're stuck together. So they knew who I belonged to from jump. They knew I was a child of God. Even though I'm out there thinking I look like the world. Thinking, in my mind, I think I look like the world. I'm acting like the world. I'm doing all these worldly things, but God still got his hand on me. God still protecting me. God still looking, because I belongs to him. So don't ever let anyone tell you you have to wait to have a relationship with God. You have to turn your life around to have a relationship with God. No, have a relationship with God. And he will lead you away from all that stuff. Little by little by little, the things that I was out there doing, I started having no desires to do them anymore. Like I said, at 5 years old, I had a relationship with God, and I went out in the streets. So if I was already out there in the streets, he's you might not open your eyes, like you might turn your life over to God, and then it's not like the next day you're gonna be like, oh, okay, let me give this up. You might still dibble and dabble, do this, do that. Eventually, I don't smoke weed anymore. I have no desire to smoke weed. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I have no desire to drink alcohol. I could do it if I wanted to. In Florida, weed is illegal unless you got a medical card. You could do medical marijuana, but I choose not to. If I have a drink, I have a drink, not because someone pressured me into having a drink, not because I feel like I need to take a drink. I just have no desire to take a drink. So as you build your relationship with God, certain things are going to just automatically start falling off. Because even when I was out there, there's certain things that I would not do. Certain things I just could not do. There's certain situations that I would look at and be like, I can't do that. It just wasn't in me to do it. Because I'm still his daughter. I was still his daughter. I was a bad girl. I was a bad child. I was a defiant child, but I was still his child. And today I'm still his child. I'm still not a perfect child. Sometimes me and him be going through it, and he's stubborn. He's stubborn. I thought I was stubborn. He is stubborn. He's not changing. It's like, no, it's my way. It ain't my way or yours, it's my way. So, that's the relationship we have. And it's like, the same relationship I had when I was 5 is the same relationship I have now. We've grown, but I don't feel like there's any rules that comes to my relationship. Church people put rules on relationship with God. It's like, no, this is my relationship. He understands me. If I'm talking to him, that's just like if you have kids. You're going to have different relationship with each one of your kids. And because you're the parent, you're going to understand that child. If you have a child that you could just talk real calm to, have real, mature conversations with, that's how that child is. This other child, you might be going back and forth with this child, word for word with this child. That's just how that child is. And from the outside looking in, someone might be like, oh, that child is like this. But no, you understand how this child is. And so you're going to deal with this child based on how they are. That's the same way with God. He knows how his kids are, and he deals with them based on who they are, based on their understanding, based on the trials and tribulations that you went through in life. He's going to deal with you based on that, not rules that someone else, like religious rules that other people put on you, or religious rules that other people put on God. No, have a relationship with God. If you want to have a relationship with God, have a relationship with God. I don't care if you drinking, then go get drunk right now. If this is the moment that you want to have a relationship with God, go ahead and have a relationship with God. Don't let anyone stop you. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't. We're in a world that is very evil. There's no middle. This is what people need to understand. Like a lot, you might say, well, I'm not this or I'm not that. Then what are you? Right now, if there was there's two roads. Which one you're going down? You're gonna have to pick sides at one point in time. Just like the Super Bowl coming up, there's only two teams. If someone said pick a team, there's only two teams. You gotta pick one of the two teams. And so that's how it is. It's either the devil or God. You gotta pick one. There's no in between. Because when God leaves, he's leaving anybody that are left behind. You know, the devil's always recruiting. He ain't turning nobody down. And he don't care what, you know, he's always looking. And so I wanted to say that. Also, be careful. Like we're in this season when people are, I'm not telling you to vote, who to vote for, don't vote, this vote, whatever, Democrat, Republic, I'm over all that. So the only thing I say is just be mindful that people lie. You know, it's like everyone's going to be trying to get people to go to their sides. I want you to come over here because I promise you I'm going to do this, this, and the other. No, come over here because I'm promise you this, that, and the other. It's a lot of promises being made, but no actions being taken on those promises that people are making. We still have an open border. We still have drugs coming across the border. We're still in a relationship with China, and that's a whole nother conversation. The relationship with the Statue of Liberty, the United States of America, and China, that right there is that's a relationship with a whole bunch of entanglement. And that would be a whole nother conversation to even try to get through that, to try to understand what's really going on with that relationship. But it's just, you know, just be mindful, you know, and whatever information you're getting, don't just automatically grit your teeth on it, bear down on it. Just try to at least get some understanding of, okay, let me see exactly what's going on. Let me see what these people are kind of talking about. So that's it. Peace. Enjoy the